Good evening, everyone. It is Monday, July 15th at 6:01. I'm going to call to order the Freetown Board of Selectmen meeting. Please note that this meeting is being recorded and will be available on our town's YouTube page. I am going to give some other boards that are here present with us some time to open up their meetings. So if anyone, we can start from right and work our way left. Does anyone over there need to open any meetings?
Well, okay, I'll open the meeting of the Freetown Conservation Commission for May 15th at this time.
July 15th.
July 15th. I thought I saw May, that's right. Oh, yes, it's July, isn't it, folks?
I will open the planning board meeting for Monday, July 15th.
Thank you.
Water and Sewer Commissioners have called our meeting to order.
Very good. Thank you, everyone. All right, so to try and put some order to this, I think first I might have them flip through, I'm gonna read the agenda item number one actually to start. So agenda item number one on our Board of Selectmen meetings, discussion and vote on space constraints, possibility of moving departments to fire station number 2, and possible other options. So, I mean, I think some people were actually just there. Some people don't know the space, but I think pretty much everyone here does. So, up on the screen over here, if anyone wants to take a look, there's some pictures up there of the space that we're talking about. So, all right. So, this is something that we kind of thought of, right? Bring everyone to a single room that's being affected by this, good, bad, or indifferent, and, talk about it. Do I think that will solve everything tonight? Probably not. But I think it's good to get everyone in front of each other and, listen to each other's concerns and, pros and cons, not just concerns. So, I think, if anyone has anything that they would really like to start with it, obviously this has to do with some safety concerns at Town Hall, some things that can no longer go on. So thankfully, the fire department has offered up some space to us to turn the back of the fire station into a couple of offices. So does anyone have anything that they would really like to start with as far as concerns? I mean, start with the.
Do you want me to give just a little history?
Yeah,
of what's going on?
absolutely. Yeah, that's a good call.
So, at the town hall, we're growing. The town hall was built in 1888, and we'll continue to grow. The offices have been moved around throughout the years, but we're at a point where we're busting at the seams. We have some offices with 4 people in the rooms that are, 14 by 16. It's very difficult to conduct business in the town hall with very limited space. We're putting files underneath tables, files under our desks. There's no place for anything. So I often talk about, I'm trying to meet critical needs. Space has now become a critical need in the town hall. We have a department, the planning department, it was up on what we refer to as the attic. It's the 3rd floor of the stage of the building. There's some concerns if there's a fire, of them being able to effectively get out of that office space. I don't believe it's 100% safe, and so the goal is to try to move that department, which is the planning and conservation department, out of the attic space and down into something that's more accessible to the public or more accessible for everybody and not up on the 3rd floor. So that's how this all became, the concerns for safety. So we started trying to find space. I've called the school, I've called the food pantry, I've looked for rentals, I've called the surrounding homes around the town hall to see if they were willing to sell their houses, just because we're that desperate for space. This became available. The chief said that he thought we could use this room in Fire Station 2 that's not being utilized 100% time-wise with the fire department. I looked at it. I thought it's something that would be viable, that we could use. We talked about possibly moving the water department, but then they would be secluded with just, most of the time, the clerk is in there by themselves. So we just, and the reason why I picked the certain departments that I personally think would be best is because they have the least amount of foot traffic. which is the water department and the planning department. All the other departments within the town hall, the town clerk, building, board of health, have a lot of foot traffic, a lot of tax collector, a lot of people coming and going. I thought this is the most conducive, so we started vetting it. The building commissioner has gone out there multiple times. We've looked at it, we've met with the fire chief and different people, and we've hashed out what would work, what might not work. So I know we've just came out there today with a couple of new ideas that I think work a little bit better for the space. But we are just desperate for space. Something has to give within the town hall. So, yeah, if you could address that.
Thank you, Deb. Just to follow up on your note. So in town hall right now, if you're planning on bringing anything to work, like bigger than a shoebox, you got to call and make arrangements for it. We really have no place to put anything. A chair, it can impede a lot of different things. So, we're that desperate. We've looked at industrial areas, homes, and all over the place. So we had a good meeting recently. And so this is the fire station. We talked about putting a ramp on the outside and going to the back of the building. So today's meeting, the chief has given up some space there, where now we can put that exit access inside the building to the back, which is a game changer for a lot of people, money-wise. I calculated to that back room, it's a 400 square foot, 20 by 20 room. To do that with a ramp on the outside, I vision about $70,000. I think we can do the same thing by using the door there we have existing and accessing it from the inside for hopefully almost half of that. So this is good news for us today, because I had no idea where to go from here. So I hope this is something that's positive for everybody, and we can actually make this happen. And to Deb's point, as she mentioned, even if we move out of it later on, we're gonna reuse the building. It has ADA bathroom, it has office space. So it'll always be reusable for the town. We're not just throwing money away. So this is something that we desperately need. As Deb mentioned, the planning department is not in a good spot. It's up in the area, could be a fire, so it's always concerned. And plus, it would loosen up, it would give us some areas to storage, right? If they moved out of there, we could store things there and have a conference area or a place you can have a cup of coffee or something, which we don't. Every office now in town hall has their little coffee machine, microwave, toaster, and we get all these things, a fire hazard. We need a rec room or something we can, have a lunch and something like that. I'm not asking for a lot, but getting those two offices out of there, we'll be able to expand ourselves and maybe have storage in a place we can have a meeting conference room or something like that. So it is needed.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I mean, very well put from both of you. Does any board, in particular, I'm going to start here to my left because I'm looking over to the water department. I'm
Well,
just curious.
as you know, we're in a closet. We have 2 or 3 people come in. You almost have to sit on each other. None of the commissioners, we don't have a desk at all to work at. We're just jammed up, and we need some more space. And after today's meeting, after they talked about putting the windows, different windows in, putting the entryway down on the inside of the building, petitions, the different heating system, and it looks like the space would be pretty viable for us anyway.
I agree. However, I don't think we should have just one department there. You can't have one employee by themselves. Now, Chandler is our inside employee. David works outside. He's not in the office it's very real. He's an outside guy.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's right to have one person alone there. Now, if we have 2 offices, that's a different story. And in the discussion we had earlier, Debbie was talking about putting in a ADA compliant bathroom. They have a little area with a stove and everything already there. And if they utilize that room and divide it into 2 offices, we ask that they put windows in each office looking outside. And that would do it for me. That would do it for me.
It's a great point, and that is something we talked about for, a lot of different reasons. Obviously, number one being safety, right? We don't, and it's not fair to seclude someone on their own, right? I wouldn't want to do that to anyone. So that is a lot about what we had talked about from the beginning is how, if we have to do something like this, it's gonna be this drastic, it's not fair to put a singular person or department there. Because to your point, in as it relates to the water department, Chandler might have someone with him in the morning, but then the whole rest of the day might not have anyone. And some days we all kind of wish we were by ourselves, but most days, you know, you like having someone else around you, so. So, you know, that was something that we did talk a lot about. So it's a great point from you guys.
I would just add also that also frees up parking space at Town Hall, which is valuable to anybody who's trying to get a parking spot at Town Hall. We're maybe having, 4 or 5 extra spots opening up. That's something we could really use at Town Hall also.
Carl, I know it was brought up about the air conditioning. Do we have, sometimes it's hot here in New England and sometimes it's cold. Is the heating and cooling sufficient?
But there, so we talked about that briefly, and we would use mini split system.
Okay.
2 mini splits would take care of 2 offices in that 400 square foot room. The lighting, we'll have to make some adjustments to that, but the fact that and for me, the big part is that we're no longer on the start, the building is 80 feet to the back. So tell somebody in the front, yeah, go to 80 feet to the back, take a right behind the building, there's a door there. It's not the same as pulling up and seeing a sign, planning and water department. That to me sells it much better for the community. I think it's something that's much more acceptable to people visiting the area.
Okay.
And I'm not gonna put the chief on the spot because it's not fair to him, but I'm thinking that this will actually help them down the road, right? Would it help you guys down the road, if this is moved out and,
The ultimate goal, the end game is a new town hall somewhere, eventually, Jack, obviously.
Yeah.
But regardless of cost, timeframe of that happening is far down the road. So, yes, if these improvements are made in this building, it's gonna benefit, well, not me, it definitely will benefit the fire department in the future as we continue to grow and, office space, compliant bathrooms. Upgrades are always a positive thing, so. I mean, definitely it's not like you're investing money in this building and then
it's gonna go to waste. Yeah.
5, 6 years from now, it's gonna collect mothballs and dust and so.
And I guess the reason why I even thought to ask you that and say that is one thing that we had talked about with it being relation to putting the addition on, the fire station in Centertown. You had said really the next step would have to be as the town grows would be, dealing with either side of the town. So I'm thinking if this building's here and we're making improvements to it already, if the town continues to grow and we need to do something, will this help? And that's a conversation for down the road, but it's just thoughts that come to mind, so. Does anyone else have any concerns?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions. Security there, public access.
Okay.
Is the planning board going to have people come there? Is the staff gonna have to meet the public at the town hall? What's the deal? What's the thought process there?
Well, after our review today, it looks like we'll be able to have public access there. So they'll be able to go there, just like they could go to the town hall now.
And how do they get in and out? Is there a swipe card system, or what is it? How is it?
There's-
What would it be?
There would be the door's in the front left of the building, and they would walk down through the bay, but we're gonna put a wall, so there's sort of be like a hallway down to the back room. And then we talked about putting, a counter, so when you got to the office, there would be a safeguard. They couldn't just walk in.
Okay,
Because,
so that's-
and then there's cameras there too, so we would talk about putting a camera, so they could watch, see somebody entering, but also there would be a counter, a stop guard, so that you couldn't just walk in.
All right, so that's different. So the actual front of the building would, because there was a truck parked.
That's gone. The truck is
'Cause I
gone now.
didn't know if to be a wide enough ADA compliant pathway to get through
Yep.
there.
I mean,
The-
Carl,
the-
you
The
can-
door that's there now, just with the overhead doors, right around the corner of the door, that's 36 inches wide, that's compliant. We would build a wall, right, we build a corridor to the back, that has to be 3 feet wide, that still gives us plenty of room to keep the boat we have there now. We could petition that off, they could still have storage, we would have our hallway leading to the back 2 offices with a counter there, and then we could let people in as they needed to meet down, or for planning committee meetings or something like that.
Does the fire department still need to use that room? Is that room that 20 by 20 gonna be reserved for the two groups, or does the fire department still need to have access to that? Not access to it, but space in it.
Initially, the discussion was that we would need access to that. I think after our meeting over there today, we'll work around that, and that, you can have that space, and we'll.
There's like furniture and stuff in there.
Yeah, well, we'll move that up. But that, I don't necessarily need to occupy that space unless we have a blizzard, a hurricane, I put a half a dozen people in that building, could be a week, you know? Around the clock for a week, you know, we put cots in that back room, and that kind of gives a little separation. But we can work with that, we'll get the furniture, we can get our stuff out of there, and we'll utilize the space where the boat is, and we'll make it work.
What about, that's an active building, so every now and then the alarm will go off? Is it gonna send the two departments jumping 5 feet?
I mean, it's a fire station. It's gonna be, there's no obtrusive audible alarms there. I mean, it's just like here, you hear the tones go off in 20 minutes, 15 minutes, you're gonna hear it here. But the tones go off, my people come in the building, pull the trucks out, send on the air and go. I think probably after the first couple of calls, Jen will be used to it. Again, I'm not trying to influence this either way.
I'm just asking.
I'm trying to make the best of the situation that you have here and
So Carl, can we add any baffling?
What's that?
Can we add any baffling or sound mitigation to mitigate some of that noise when not in use? Or turn off, like here, turn off the alarm within that
Well,
building?
I think, Carlos, there's some separation as well, right? So
Right.
right now, there's speakers and radio heads in that room. You just move it out.
Right, that's what I was saying about this room. We can lower the audible alarm from in this room as well, so you don't hear that.
in that room, so.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Any plans to make, and I don't mean to monopolize this, but any plans to make a enclosed room in there if somebody had to have a video conference or something like that? I don't know what there's no plans right now, right? There's no
So I
concrete.
think that we've talked more today and more stuff's come out about what.
We had looked at four pods in the middle of that room, keeping a 3 foot. So maybe we can scale that back to 3, have a meeting conference room, and then 2 offices.
Well, I
We
think
can move that
after
around.
today, right, that we don't, that was originally because we were gonna have to, like, sort of have temporary wall structures that the fire department could come in, take down if
Right.
they need to. That now doesn't sound like we have to do that, so we had talked about sort of dividing it in half and making 2 separate offices. So it wouldn't be much different than what you have now, long, sort of narrow office with a window in it. I think what we might wanna do is get someone to draft some drawings and bring it back and have you look at them if this is something that we want to move forward with. And say, okay, now that we've vetted some more stuff, that's a wood structure back there. We know we can pop windows in without a big problem. We know that we want security built in. Okay, draw up 2 offices, what is this gonna look like? And then we could bring those plans back. We know we can get the ADA accessibility. The issue is getting an ADA bathroom in there. I don't think we can fit 2. I think we need a unisex bathroom, and I think we need to get a waiver for that. So that's probably step 1 for me, would be to make sure that that's viable option, that we can get a waiver to 1. The plumbing's all in the concrete under the floor. It's gonna have to be jackhammered up. So it's something we need to put some time in and do one and done, not be rehashing the bathrooms.
And again, so it also benefits the community, obviously. If you pull up to the water department or the plant, you're gonna park right there, you're gonna walk straight in, so you're not gonna be fighting for a parking spot. I mean, and we've looked all over the place. If anybody has any other place we wanna look at, we certainly would be open to that.
Yeah, I've vetted as many options as I can. I mean, the only other option that I was discussing this week was buying another pod like we're talking about at the COA. It's $250,000 for a pod. There may be space at the highway barn. And that would be something that we would have to figure out how to hook into the septic system up there. So I would think that after all of this legwork, I would think that's probably the only other viable option if you wanted to spend $250,000. And I haven't spoken to, unfortunately, to the highway surveyor about, does he have space up there? I don't know if you know whether there's space up there for that.
I don't. So at Chuck's area, yeah, so we had a conversation with Chuck, there is area for that, we're still, again, we're back to ADA. If someone come to the trailer, how do we get that person safely in and out of the trailer? Got that issue to deal with
You have to
also.
put ramps in. And then the only thing is then we'd have this pod that maybe we could use for the transfer station down the line, because eventually they're gonna need a new trailer space, right? So that's the only other viable option that I can say that would really work, and I think we could get one big enough for 2 offices as well. So again, I think it comes down to what 2 offices you wanna move, and I always prefer to spend it on our own buildings, but there is that. And originally, I was, we're trying to get a new building built. I didn't wanna take $250,000 out of our money, but at this point, we haven't even begun the plans of a new building. So we're 4 or 5 years out, so we might be able, and we have money in stabilization. We have to go to town meeting, of course, but that's something that we may be able to do if you were inclined to do that, and rather than this option. That's all I can give you, that's all I have in terms of, I've vetted everything else, we've looked at spaces, I've called even like Copart to see if they would rent the building they have out front, they're not interested. I really have gone in every direction I possibly could to try to find space, because we need it. So that's the only other option that I can come up with.
I never want to speak on behalf of the board, but one of my issues with getting another trailer versus this is I would feel like we're gonna have the pods from the COA that we have talked about different options for afterwards, right? Which one of them was bringing them to the transfer station. If we do the work to this building, we had just heard it from the chief himself, right, that there's something that can be done with it, so it's gonna have some value down the road a little bit more than buying another pod and putting it somewhere. And, that would probably cost more money and take longer than doing this option. So, I mean, the only upside to there is it's a little bit closer to the center of town versus the fire station, but beyond that, I really don't, I mean, it's still gonna quote-unquote segregate them from the rest of the town hall. So I don't really see much of an upside, and I understand why you're saying it, but I don't see it personally.
Yeah, I'm spending $250,000 on a pod. I just, if you remember, this was also a warrant article that we put out there to lease out the old Santander Bank.
Yeah.
And our residents spoke loud and clear. They didn't want to get into a leasing situation with Santander in doing that. So that compounds the issue as far as the space here at Town Hall. Like Deb said, Town Hall is 1888. Listen, she's been a good old building for us, and she's doing her job. However, we're growing, and like Carl mentioned, parking's an issue. We tried, if you even go further back, we tried getting that lot for long-term solutions of a pump station to potentially rehabbing the red building that's sitting in the corner of town and potentially making it a parking lot temporarily. Again, the town said no. So this is our building. At some point, like Chief said, we'll have to renovate it, right? And that is true. That's true for every building. At some point, I know it's still fresh in a lot of people's minds and hearts, but this building will need to be renovated someday, right? It's the upkeep of running a town, which is unfortunate, but it's the facts. Spending $250,000, I don't know. I'm not inclined to do that. You just don't know about financial times in the future. We have plenty of buildings we can use, and this is one of them.
Mr. Chairman, if I could.
Absolutely.
Harry, is there a exhaust retrieval system at Station 2? Okay, this works? Not like the old one.
She's all set.
Paul, go ahead.
I think the idea that Deb's put together is a very valid way to handle this. But I would like to, you have the employees that are involved in the 2 departments here. Can we hear from them so we can understand what their concerns are?
Absolutely, yeah.
yes.
I mean, they're one of the main concerns
Right.
why we're all here doing
Right.
this as a group rather than us trying to make a rash decision.
I'd like to hear from
Right,
them.
ultimately,
It's a great point.
ultimately, this decision could have been made, but we are a team, as the Board of Selectmen. We're a team, I've said it before and I'll say it again, the boards and committees of this town helps us guide us in our decisions that we make moving forward. So it's imperative that we hear not just from you, but the employees that it will affect. Absolutely, and that's, again, like Jared said, this is why we're all here today. Your opinion matters.
I think we all know who you are, but if you can just state your name before you say anything, that would be great.
Chandler, Water Department. Shoppers, welcome to Kmart. So I've given you 3 or 4 and my board a list of pros and cons that I've created for, at the direction of Debbie, for the town hall and the fire station. It's pretty self-explanatory, so.
And I do think that some of these were addressed today in that meeting.
Yeah.
You know, so, which
I
is
mean, there
good.
was, safe access for customers, ADA, non-ADA compliant. Yeah, I mean, I probably can't say anything that's gonna benefit me, so I'm gonna stop talking now. Because it sounds like you guys have already decided.
No one, I promise, no one has decided a single thing, Chandler, that's. Does anyone else over there want to say anything? Is it just-
The only thing that, my name is David Thibodeau, I'm with the Water Department. With concern, and I'm not trying to be sexist or anything, but my mentality is leaving women there without any sort of security or anybody around in case something were to happen, and leaving them essentially by themselves. Like, as Paul said, I'm out in the field 90% of my day. I probably typically spend the first half an hour to an hour of my day in the town hall, in my office, and I'm pretty much in and out here and there throughout, if I do even return. Chandler sometimes will takes vacation, as he's allowed to have. If the planning board is there and Nicole and Victoria have whatever they're doing, which I mean, it's beyond my understanding, but I understand Victoria comes here quite often to have access for meetings. Maybe she meets somebody at a common area, if that were even to be something that's to be considered in the future going forward, if they can't come into the fire department for whatever reason. Leaving Nicole in the department by herself, I mean, to me, like I said, it's just my understanding that I think that is kind of like, I don't know, not poor decision making, but it's not, I don't think it's acceptable, but whatever, that's just me.
And I'm just gonna back that up by saying that there is no ideal solution, right? We're trying to do our best with what we have, and that was, what Debbie had said before, is, we have a meeting of the mind, so to speak, tonight, right? We're here, we're open for suggestions. And no, Chandler, I promise we have not 100% stamped a decision that this is what's gonna happen. So, we wanted to hear from you guys, so I think that, we care about you guys and want to make sure that we do right by everyone, so, do either of you ladies?
And just to address the security concerns that you mentioned, of course, we're not going to detail every security feature we put into any building, a town hall. Like, that's just poor policy. It'll actually take away from security. But like Deb has mentioned, cameras, door locking door, the same counter system that we have there currently at town hall, or better, right? So we're not just going to throw people in there and not without any thought of their safety. So that's paramount, right? And I'll piggyback off Jared. I'm in here blank-minded. I have my thoughts and opinions, and I'll make them known as I need to, but I want to hear from you. I do. So that's important to me, and to everybody else here. I assure you of that.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I would like to see an actual drawn-out plan. I don't think that, I think that, okay, this is all right to throw things out, but until I see a plan, I can't say how I would feel. And I don't think that the employees, I mean, one of the things I see here is looking at that picture right there. Now, I don't know where you may envision the counter being, but, are we gonna have a citizen walk by the cafeteria area area? Are the bathrooms going to be accessible to the public or not? You know, I think I really, I want to see a plan, in a concrete plan that we can actually, you know, give some input in. So,
Absolutely.
again-
and I agree
Go ahead.
that's, you know, what Debbie had said, I think that if we can get some ideas from people tonight, and there's already been some good stuff that's been, you know, thrown across, we can then go and try and get some plans made and then, you know, pass them out to everyone. So,
One of the other options that I've spoken with Carl about, the building commissioner, is taking the map room and putting planning and conservation into the map room. The map room is small. I think it's probably one of the smallest rooms we have, but we're looking into, I don't know if you've had the guy out yet, but pumping the wall out. If you know, when you go into the town hall, the wall jets in right past Lynette's office. It jets in about 4 feet.
Yeah, so the bump out would come out about 4 feet, and so it would maybe go 10 feet, so that's 40 square feet, which doesn't seem like a lot of square, but for us, that's huge. That's a game changer for that room. We could maybe utilize 2 people in there.
Yeah.
You know, our mail room, we gotta put a mail somewhere, so. We've been looking at everything we could. We picked up every rock we could to look underneath it, and we're asking for help. Anybody have any suggestions, ideas?
Right, and that included moving employees around town hall as well, right? Up, moving one-person office, two-person offices, you know, we've literally.
And the other point is that this doesn't take care of all our problems. Like,
Correct.
satisfy, we still have people working in office space and cubby holes within offices, so we still have that. And we have storage, we're just overwhelmed, we are really overwhelmed. It's tough to work here, I mean, it's tough. When you have a chair, you gotta move stuff to get out of your desk, you gotta, excuse me, to get out of your office. I mean, it wears you down to do it day after day, you know, you're in and out of your office, you're trying to work. And I'm looking at some old movie, there was a guy, executive at his desk, he had his little pen hole in his chart, and that's all he had. Now we got 2 or 3 screens, we've got wires, we've got all this other stuff, so that whole environment's changed. So the building code requires 15 square feet per person.
Correct.
We're not there, we're like 5. We'll manage, but we need help, we really do.
I think that's being generous. 5 square feet per person.
I have a question, and I haven't seen it for myself, but I'm led to believe that there is space that is being unoccupied in this building on the second floor. Now, I don't know, you know, and I'm just trying to think of this logistically with regard to saving money. Like, I don't know what that space looks like or if it's even available, but, you know, to avoid renovation and kind of, you know, spending taxpayer dollars, you know, as a taxpayer in this town, what does that look like? Why is that even true? Is there room in this building? I mean, it seems like a very large building. I mean, I gotta assume there's gotta be space in here somewhere, no?
there's space, but there's other concerns, and we can probably let the chief talk to this one a little bit better, but that space right now is nothing more than, studs. So there would be, quote-unquote renovation that would need to happen up there as well. That wouldn't be just, move into that office space and take it, but, obviously you're dealing with, a different security measure as it relates to, the business that's conducted behind these walls versus a fire station, so.
Right, and correct me, any public area has to be accessible to the public, right? So, like Jared said, it's really down to studs, and to renovate that, I believe it'd be more than even the pods that we were just talking and discussing, right? So, yes, in any public building that the town knows, whether police or fire, we looked at, right? No one has their special space, they can't just have this place or that building, it belongs to the town. The town's gonna do what the town needs to do to function, right? That includes every single open space that we own as far as a town. We looked at every capacity. Believe me when I say that, to including at the transfer station and everything, to see where there's space that we already own to lessen the cost or renovation of moving. But ultimately, you got to think about this as well. Someday, Chandler, you may want to retire, right? So someday, 20 years from now, you may want to retire. So that position that you have, might be occupied by someone else, right? So same thing with Victoria and Nicole, right? At some point, you may want to retire or move on to another position or another job. So I know we look at it as today, but we also have to look at it as the position is going there. And it's that person that now sits in that position. And I'm saying this is a personal thing, and trust me, this is why we're all here, because it's personal for us as well. We don't want to just upend you and make life difficult, but ultimately, what's best for the entire town, right? Again, that's why we're all talking.
I can touch a third rail now. So the old police station, that would be ideal for us, right? As successful as they are, they're also outgrowing that space. Parking's an issue, bathroom's an issue. They're overwhelming overload. They're very successful. They might be looking for something else down the road. Just wanted to throw that out there also. It's a public building. Of course, we don't want to throw Craig out, does a great job, but we'll just throw that in the mix too.
No, that's absolutely something we looked at, right? We appreciate and applaud everything that the Freetown Regional Food Pantry does, but ultimately, if we need that space someday, we're going to use that space for something. But we do have constraints with that area as well. It's suitable for what it's been there now, but not so much for, in its current condition, for offices and everything else. Because we absolutely looked at that space. But that's, they have vermiculite and things like that. So occupying that area, a little more difficult. I know the police did it for many years, and people are probably saying the police did it for a million years. Yes, they did. But in today's standards, they wouldn't be allowed to do that. That's why this place was built. So yes, we did look at that old police station, the current food pantry. We did. Every single public area that we own as a town was looked at. The same way this police, and it just so happened, it really, it was great fortune and the willing of the fire department to say, hey, we don't need this space. They know we're looking. We've looked at even renting and looking at different places. It is what it is. Yes, and
You can go first.
I was just wondering if, Michael's not here, but I wonder if you could move the assessor's office there, and that would eliminate the problem with women being there totally alone. I don't know, I'm just,
Mike does have that, our assessor's office does have quite a bit of foot traffic,
Yeah.
and it's usually elderly people.
One of the big factors, obviously, is who does the most customer or least amount of customer interaction. And I say customer resident, usually, so that was it.
It's not the water department that does the least.
No, but it's also a functionality of operating too, as well, right? So like you could say, okay, well, accounting doesn't do,
Right.
but they're kind of needed there for the functionality of everything, so. Victoria, I don't know.
Yeah, thank you. Victoria Alfaro, Planning and Land Use Administrator. So all the land use departments are going to be getting online permitting soon. So was there discussion or is there room for a space with a computer and a desk for an applicant who doesn't have access to one to be able to utilize that? And if they need help, we're there to assist them with it.
I think we could put one on the counter, that's what we used to do in Hanson, right on the counter when you walk in, there's the computer there.
So the counter will have to be an accessible height then as well for,
ADA.
We would make it
yeah,
that way
for
anyway.
ADA compliance. I do have a concern with, as much as I love the water department, we do not work directly together at all. So I feel it would make more sense, office efficiency wise for departments, whether that be permitting departments or other departments that work closely together to be in the same space. There's quite a few times that either I send someone to building or health after we give them a sign off or vice versa. So to have a resident, try to drive back and forth, I just don't think that works for our department. It's also going to create some upset residents.
I think no matter what we do, we're gonna create some upset residents, right? It's the unfortunate truth, so, but, it's very valid points, it's just, we're trying to make this as easy as possible for the residents, hence the departments that were kind of thrown around, because there was other departments that were thrown around, and Debbie was saying she would love to go there. She's like, I'd love to go there, but we can't,
Yeah.
As long as I have my team. I have to have my team, but I'll go. No
you know,
problem.
and it's just, but because of functionality of how things work at the town hall, I think, no, I mean, unless you can give me an idea of something that 100% stands alone as a department that we could send there, I don't know of one. I say we don't know of one. Trevor as well, he's not here, but, he was obviously very big in this discussion as well, so, yeah, I mean, it's not easy. Like I said, we're not trying to, and it's not something that we're gonna decide on our own. It's not something that's gonna be decided tonight. And I think it's a very valid point that, let's get a drawing put together now that we have a little bit more idea as to how things are going, and then we can put a picture in front of everyone, right? Because pictures speak a lot of words, so, we'll have it in front of everyone to be able to go over, and they can give their input from there.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, go
absolutely.
back to the pods, and just so everyone knows, anyone who's listening, what that entails. You say it would be $250,000. Would that be to purchase a pod?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
And that, what about, I'm just gonna throw it out, be the devil's advocate, throw it out, whatever you wanna say. What would it cost to lease?
So we looked into that. I haven't looked into it recently, but with the COA, I did look into that originally, and it was $125,000 per year.
Okay. The other thing, and I'm not advocating a pod, I'm just putting this out here. What if we were to purchase it? What would be the availability of selling it after we were done?
Just like anything else. I mean, the only other thing I could tell you is I could look into that I have not, is if there's a used one out there, or a used pod that we could get for cheaper. I haven't looked into that.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's something valid that we can
You
look
could-
into.
So just, like you're saying, selling it, I'm saying maybe we
I
could
mean,
buy
I'm not saying,
something.
we can sell them off.
I think you probably
likelihood is
could.
that,
I mean,
you
you
know.
probably would get pennies on the dollar, but I'm
Right,
sure
I
there's a
mean,
market
I'm
for
not- yeah,
everything.
I know they're not gonna appreciate, that's for sure. But, and I'm not advocating that, but I'm just saying, if somebody's sitting home watching and they're saying, well, why didn't they do this, why didn't they go and look into leasing it or to sell it again or something?
Sure.
But
Yeah,
that's-
we had looked into the leasing, and it made
It was a lot of
0
money.
sense, and then that was kind of what we had said, geez, by the time anything's even done, because it was obviously in relation to the COA, that by the time everything was even close to being done at COA, for the COA, whatever direction we go in,
Right.
it would make 0 sense for us, so. And then we have them to use down the road.
And keep in mind as well, the COA pods, that's a temporary solution. That is not a permanent structure. That's not there for long term. That's a shelf life. Gosh, if we get 10, 15s out of it, we'll be okay, right? So that's why leasing was kind of thrown out of the idea. It was like, we're gonna get $125,000 a year for a pod when we couldn't get approved 36,000 and change for Santander Bank. And then we only have a shelf life of, let's say, 10 years, just to kind of round numbers. We looked at all options and crunched the numbers and try to make sense of it all.
Carlos, you speak about Santander Bank, and I'm gonna say, as I said at the meeting, I didn't see a plan. And so, with the bank building there, what were we actually leasing? I had no knowledge. Nobody
Space.
had any knowledge,
The-
and that's why I think it failed. So as you bring that up, I'm gonna tell you, I think that's why it failed.
Sure, and I get that.
And so that's why I'm saying, hey, I don't want to make a decision. I don't want to have any input with something until I see a plan. And that's really what we need here. We need a plan, and we need a good cost estimate, not
What's-
just, a ballpark.
What would be the difference between spending the money for a pod than what you're gonna get if you use the fire station? The cost is so much different. In the fire station, we're investing into our own property. To me, the biggest issue here is our employees. And I haven't really heard any big reason why they don't want to go. The security is an issue, but you can buzz people in even at the front door. There's a camera there. You don't have to have that front door unlocked. We went a long time at the town hall where you had to punch in and somebody had to let you in during COVID. Same thing. You know what I'm trying to say? But to me, the end game is going to be the same result. You're going to have people that don't want to maybe go up and work out of the highway department in a pod. I mean, it's the same thing.
What about the library next door? Why couldn't we just use that? I mean, we have a library on the other side of town, right? So even if we went down to one library, we just use that one.
Remove the library and remove the Assonet Library?
Yeah.
There's no bathroom in there, isn't
Yeah.
No
They
bathroom.
can just walk across the street to the town hall.
They have to
It's
do
either that or do something with that old schoolhouse that we're spending money on for nothing, that we're never gonna, no one has any plans for it. I mean,
So that
at
schoolhouse.
least we're putting money back into the buildings we own, if you wanna do it that way.
Yeah, I think we would like to ultimately work on the schoolhouse, but the quote that I got was $2 million to finish that building, which is just a lot.
And it wouldn't solve the parking issue.
But the library, I don't know. I mean, I think that's a totally different question than removing the Sonnet Library, right? I don't know. I think both libraries are substandard, so I think it might be difficult to do that, but.
So, while I don't want to consider this a stopgap measure, there is a.
It is what it
there-
is, really.
It sort of is, but there is a small boat in there which gets used on a very rare occasion by the town. What would happen if that space where the brush truck and the boat are were also turned into office space? So more than one or two offices could go, but three offices. So it's always an assurance that there would be personnel, more than one person in that building. So that would alleviate some of the security concerns as far as leaving an individual by themselves, and utilizing the building, freeing up more space in town hall. And maybe, so we get 7 square feet per person, Carl.
So we had looked at that space you mentioned, that's 750 square feet. The room in the back is 400 square feet, so it almost double the space if we utilize that. Again, if we all agree, or if somebody agrees that we should look further into that building, we can take the steps to come back with better information. If that's what we get out of this meeting, I don't know.
I think that ultimately we would be pushing the fire department completely out of that building, and they said that they would not need this back space. They would use that bay if there was an emergency, they'd set up cots, and that's where they would go. But now if we force them out of that space, I'm not sure where they would go. I mean, I guess the chief would have to look at that, and I mean, he is getting a new addition with some bunks rooms, but I don't know if it's big enough. And I don't know if it's all about location, or it's about housing people.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, and I'll let the chief speak to this, but I know we've talked a lot in the past about him having certain equipment in certain places and, so, I mean, I feel like we should allow the chief to speak on that, and I don't want to, I feel like, I know we can say we can, work with whatever space that we need to, but at the end of the day, these are our first responders, and I want to make sure that we give them, chance to respond as well, and I don't want to try and take up too much space in order to solve one little issue of, I say little, it's not little at all, but one issue of being able to create one more department space, and then doing something to jeopardize them having equipment in the wrong place at the wrong time. So, Chief, I don't know if you have anything to say.
The vote, I don't know if an alternative solution, I can move the vote. I can't give it all to you. I have to have some space for the desk, and I mean, there's still, every call, there's paperwork that goes on in that building. So I still need a space, and I discussed this with Kyle just earlier tonight when we were over there. If the front 750 feet works better, and that's a better alternative than the back, I'll figure out a way to give you the front and I'll keep the back, but I have to have something. I can't.
I got what you're saying now. Take the 750 from the front and let them keep the 400 in the back. I thought we were saying both as far as we take the 400 and the 750. That's why I was saying, they need to, so, gotcha. But then I don't know about as far as how renovations, how much more that would affect that, so.
I would think that front bay, I mean, it's not an office space, it's a garage.
Right.
It's a cement block garage, single pane windows and, so, I don't know,
Yeah.
that's not my decision to make, but I can't,
Thank you, Chief.
I need to retain some of it.
All right. So to kind of resharpen the pencil on this discussion, we're here to discuss space constraints, possibility of moving the departments, like any department or any renovation, right? Whether we lease it, buy it, or renovate it, we would always have a plan in place for the betterment of the space and the employees, right? That's any if we renovated this area today and we said yes, we're renovating this area, there would still be a design stage in planning and everything else, right? So again, to kind of resharpen and refocus it, we're talking about moving the departments, right? We're gonna, like Jared said earlier, we're not gonna hit every single bullet point. It's just impossible, right? For what wants and needs, right? We're gonna do wants and needs. The needs must come first versus the wants, right? We need space. That said, today's discussion is how we do it, how we get in there, and amicably together, right?
Very valid point. Absolutely. So, I mean, Nikki, you're the only one I didn't, I don't know if you have anything you would want to say, because obviously it does affect you. But if you don't have anything, you don't have to say anything.
I think the only biggest concern I have is the safety, because like, I know Victoria's off on some Fridays because she has night meetings. So she takes Fridays off, and then if Chandler's on vacation, David's out on the road, then I'm there alone. So that would be my biggest concern, is the safety.
Yeah, and safety has to be number one, right? I mean, beyond any of this, safety has to be number one. Hence, one of the reasons why this all started, right? Safety right now is an issue at Town Hall if everything is left the same. So, I hear that loud and clear, and I think there was definitely some valid points that were brought up. And, I mean, I don't want to drag this on all night long.
Yeah.
I mean, I think if anyone has anything else they'd like to add, I just want to take it back and say that I think our next thing would be is that we would have to try and get some plans drawn up, maybe based on both sides, whether it be the front and the back. And then, we can bring it back to the boards and committees and, take it from there and, put out to you guys and give us some input based on what we see. And then, we can make some decisions. We'll have to, do this again, because I do think it was a productive meeting between everyone.
Well, go ahead.
Sorry, I just want to add one more thing. So I think the option of the front area that's bigger, if you could squeeze in that third office, will probably make a better annex, and you could probably put the departments that actually, that work together in one spot. In another community I worked in, we had an annex, and I think it worked pretty well there with having those departments together.
Yeah, and I think what we, hence we keep going back to it, but having the drawing, right, and then seeing how it all lays out and bathrooms and everything else. So, yeah, I mean.
Yeah, no, I'm all for making sure it's secure, compliant, and comfortable, 100%. But as far as moving departments, that's one of the primary things to discuss today. It sounds like we've been amendable. We've been discussing many points, and we were addressing those concerns, and I think we have a lot of plans in place, like as Carl has mentioned. Does the water department object if the water department moved? I want to hear from the departments. Would you object to move if you had everything in your bucket list today, right now, on paper, drawn out? Would you want to move from Town Hall to that location?
If we had space, we'd like to move, I believe. The commissioners would like to move to a bigger area, whether it's wherever.
Okay.
I mean, we're not moving things to Fall River or to Boston or anything, we're in Freetown, you know.
I agree 100%, as long as it's safe and it's comfortable for our employees.
Absolutely.
And, you know, I just go back and think that, I mean, I think it would be a different story if we were saying to somebody, hey, you gotta go work in Brockton. We got a space in Brockton, that's where we're gonna put you. It's still all in the same town, you know what I mean?
Right. So that's a question to the Conservation Department and Planning. If you had everything on your bucket list checked off, safety, comfort, everything that an employee would need to comfortably be doing their job in a safe location, drawn out today, would you say yes or no to moving that department to that location?
I'll speak for the conservation as a commissioner, just as a commissioner.
Sure.
My thing is, if we had a time limit, if we knew you know, it would be much more helpful than going and saying, you know, you're going off to a spot and we don't know when it's gonna be, condensed again in another facility. I have a real problem with that. I don't work there that much, so for me, it wouldn't matter to me personally, but I walk into the office maybe for 15 minutes every 2 weeks, really, to be perfectly honest. So I'm not gonna say that it's all right, or I'm not gonna say it's wrong. I wanna see a plan.
Right.
You know, that's really, we're talking of a concept here, and we should really be talking about a plan.
Well, the plan is that, you know, one thing at a time. So there is no plan if there's no decision. Ultimately, the Board of Selectmen will make the decision. However, we want to hear from you. If you had everything in the box checked, yes or no, to moving a department, not people, not anything, we're asking, we could make the decision, but we want your opinion. That's what we're asking you.
Well,
I mean,
I mean, it's still.
just be careful, because you don't want anyone speaking on behalf of
Right.
the board.
Right. No, I'm just trying to get a gauge.
My own opinion is, it's a stopgap.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
And that's what it is.
And-
Yes.
But, you know, how long is that stopgap gonna be there? And I couldn't agree to thinking that even like, say, building an annex, because I don't agree with annexes. You know, you got people with two different spots trying to work together. Doesn't work.
Yeah, it's tough.
So, you know, a stopgap for a very limited time, I wouldn't mind working there, but I'm not gonna say, because I'm
Sure.
only there for 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, and I don't know that anyone up here would ever in their right mind try and give a timeline.
Right. Yeah.
Yes.
Everything takes forever in a day when it comes to this world, so I'm learning that real quick. And, you know, so it's tough for us to put a definitive time on it, to say, okay, yeah, you know, it would be 6 months, a year, 10, I don't know. Because there's a lot of factors.
Reality, I
that
would
go into it.
say,
Right, you know, it's-
You're
Right,
talking 2 or 3
exactly.
years, 3 years at the minimum. I can't see anything happening sooner than that unless we get another building, not a new building, but another space renovated. And then move again.
Planning board, well, I will echo your sentiments about having the staff feel comfortable. They work great. I'm hoping that there's no issues where the IT is weak and they're using dial-up or some damn thing like that, and interfacing with the public is problematic, because everything's running fine right now, so,
Yeah.
you know, if the space works, it'll work, yeah.
No, we agree. I think there's nothing wrong with the employees or the departments. That's never been a concern. The problem is space, and making sure that we're running as functional and as efficient as possible. And the third floor just doesn't cut it. It's you know, we've looked at the first place, like, again, we've looked at the first floor and different offices, moving people within those offices. You solve some things, but you don't solve all of them, not even close.
But the other thing it does also, it takes a building that needs repair and maybe put some vinyl siding in it, it'll brighten it up. It'll do that for the building also. For any other reasons, that will also happen, hopefully.
What would be the form of payment? You have to come up with a budget, but is this something that would have to go in front of the town, or is this something that would come out of some sort of building fund?
Well, every time you think of something, right, like you just talked about vinyl and adding additional windows, so there is a cost threshold that we have to make sure we figure out. You mentioned, you threw up some numbers earlier, we have to take a look at those numbers, right? You said $40,000, right, in that time frame?
So it's, I mean, it's not hard numbers, as this gentleman. put
Right,
in.
right, and
We
this
wanna
is-
get that. So if we can agree that this building is conducive to the use we need, we can take the next step, as you mentioned.
And that's why I kind of was asking the question, because if we're gonna wait for a design, we're kind of prolonging not the inevitable, we're prolonging the decision or the move or that functionality. So to get us the plans that we discuss, we need to make sure that we're gonna be moving people there, right? If they're not moving people there, then this discussion's over, we can move on with our day. But it sounds like from all sides, once these additions are made, it's a viable spot, right? And it'll actually work out pretty well. And again, improve infrastructure in town. That's my
Within
take.
reason, I think there's still a lot of
Oh, sure.
questions that need to be answered, so I don't wanna, like I said, I was very careful about, I just don't wanna put any one particular board in place, and I know you're not trying to.
I'm not, that's not my intent. I'm just trying to make sure we're all, hey, this is a good idea, let's move forward and see what it looks like. That's, in layman's terms, that's what I'm
no,
asking.
absolutely.
You know, it's like, let's pass go, right? That's all I'm trying to see.
Absolutely.
And the
So,
third floor is considered a little dangerous, we won't see other departments sprawling and going up there, right?
Storage area.
So there won't be a conference room up there like you're talking about?
No, I don't, if
storage.
someone said something about conference room, must have been misspoken, because it was, 100% has always been about storage, because then it will help free up space from within certain offices, right? So that was really it, because then you're not gonna have people up there. So there's still obviously a lot of questions and stuff, but I think,
As far as funding sources, my thought process, depending on where we thought it would be ARPA. ARPA money that does not have to go to town meeting.
Okay.
So the selectmen can vote and then it can be spent.
so, all right, so I'm thinking that maybe, we'll take it from there, we can try and get some plans drawn up, and then we can send it off to every board, give them some chance to all meet and go over it, come up with some ideas, questions, concerns, whatever, and then we can meet like this again in the same forum, because I think there is a lot that can be accomplished by all of us getting in the same room and, talking through things. So, does anyone have any questions or concerns with doing that?
No, I think it's been productive. It's a lot of valid points, and we'll do the best to address them and then take the next step.
Absolutely. So, yes, sir.
You're released.
Adjourn your meetings.
Mr. Chairman, we're gonna adjourn our meetings, so to speak.
Your meeting notes?
I'll motion we adjourn.
Motion made,
Yeah, I'll make sure that they
seconded,
send them all.
all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Motion adjourned.
I'll make a motion that we adjourn the planning board meeting. I need a motion
I'll make a motion.
and a second.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Beautiful.
Thank you, guys. And
Just do the back.
Just gonna give them one moment to clear.
We'll see you this time tomorrow.
Everyone just bear with me for 1 second. I was just letting them clear so that some of the noise.
And the wind just back against the wall. Wind just stepped out for a minute. She'll be right back.
Oh,
So did you guys find camping? Is that what I'm hearing? You guys found some camping spots?
Yeah.
We had one at Horse Lake.
Months ago.
We tried. We tried doing it in,
Can't take it.
All right. So I think we're good. So we'll move on to agenda item number 2. Discussion and vote on whether to approve but not release the executive session minutes from 7/1/24.
Motion made?
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 3, discussion and vote on whether to cross-train Board of Health and building clerks to cover for one another's paid time off. Right.
Yeah, I've been watching other town halls, and they are, they're moving to a system where you have like all your clerks together, and nobody is specialized in any one department, they all cover for each other. Well, our space is not conducive to that kind of a setup. My building and health are side by side, both are on permitize, so both of the clerks are versed in permitize, and, you know, they have time off, and the department heads are left without any staff. And I think it would work where they could cross-train, and so if the building clerk is out, the Board of Health clerk can take a message, they can go to her window, if they have questions on the computer and permitize, they could help them, and they could take a message and have the inspection, you know, the building inspector and the Board of Health agent call when they get in. So I just think it would be an efficient use of resources for us. We don't have a floater, we didn't hire a floater this year because there's a lot of downtime with the floater, it wasn't economical for the town. So the step on this is to get the Board of Selectmen to agree, and then it will go to the union for, the administrative union for further discussion with the actual employees and impacts. So I just think it will work better for everybody, and mainly for the residents that come in. There'll be somebody to cover.
And it wouldn't be, I think you bring up a great point that they specialize in their own department, right? This is more of, you know, buildings not in, the other can, you know, take care of the general everyday stuff, right? And, you know, to help the residents. So I'm all about cross-training.
Yeah.
I do think that, you know, it makes sense in a lot of areas, so.
Our building clerk, I mean, she did do both when the building and the Board of Health was one department. So she's probably somewhat familiar. And I think that they have available time, right, to do this. They both do their jobs very well, but they have the time to cover both, I think. Especially since we are on digital, you know, online permitting, the foot traffic has gone down. It's still there, but it's nowhere near what it was when I first came to the town, so. I just think it will be a good use of resources, as I said. Economy of scale, you know. Scale impact, I say like that, yeah.
I think Jared touched on this, but I agree. It's, you know, cross-training should be part of every employer's manual across the country and the world. It builds value in the employee, and it gives you opportunities down the road. And this is a more efficient way of conducting business. And not to mention, the resident that comes into town hall will have somebody there at all times. And then breaks and everything else included. So,
These two will be the easiest to do. I will probably be coming back to ask for more, once we see how this goes.
Anyone? Margaret?
Margaret French, Chair of Board of Health. I just want to say I support this, and back up what Deb said. It used to be one office with one clerk, so it makes sense to have those two clerks able to cover each other. Even if, you know, one is at lunch and somebody comes in, at least somebody will be there to answer questions. And I think there's plenty of time that they can do those jobs.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or concerns? So, you know, Deb did touch on this, but this really, you know, we can make the vote, but then it does need to go, you know, nothing set in stone, because then it really is going to the union. So.
yeah, no, let's put it out, give it to the union to chew on and see what they have to say. But whether the decision yes or no, they'll give us their reasoning, and hopefully we can alleviate those. If not, then they make the decision they make. It's part of doing business.
Absolutely. So with that, I entertain a motion to approve cross-training the Board of Health and building clerks to cover for one another's paid time off.
I make that motion.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 4, discussion and vote on percentages of retirees' insurance town will pay for calendar year 2025. For anyone listening or here who doesn't know, currently, the town does pay 95% of retirees' health insurance plan. We did find out that that's actually illegal. So we have to make a change. The maximum amount that we can pay is 90%. A lot of places, they pay, 75%. Currently, we're paying 75% for employees. So we're paying 75% for employees, 95% for retirees. So unfortunately, we have to make a decision. So really, it's our decision if we want to go down to the 75%, but we can't do more than 90%.
Right,
I'm-
so, yeah, that's the part you gotta think about, right? So, there's a law mandate of reducing it at a minimum 5%, right? However, my concern is, we've been paying, how many retirees we're talking about? 100 and change, if, give or take?
Yeah, I'm not, I don't have the number in front of me.
Yeah, so, my concern is, we've been paying 95%, now we have to go down to 90%. So that's a given, that's a minimum for every retiree that has given their time and grade and their time for this town. So I look at it like that. But also, going down to 75% right away, the economy's tough as far as for paying for food, electric, and everything else. So I have to be cognizant of that. I think you are as well. I think we all are. So is it a taper down? Can we do that step down versus all at once? I don't want to shock anybody. We're talking about a population that's retired on a fixed income, whether it's Social Security, their town pension, and whatnot. And insurance rates have gone up. They have. But also have to be cognizant of the other 9,000 people that are paying their taxes. So it's a tough one. That's probably it's a tough decision.
Yeah, I'm at this point, I mean, to your point, I really, I have a soft spot for people who are living on fixed incomes. And, to all of a sudden, I already hate the fact that I'm going after someone on a fixed income and saying they're gonna have to give up more. But I also understand it. We can't break the law to do it, right? So, I have a hard time at this point going away from that 90% mark. What we do down the road, maybe we have to make a decision, and to your point, is it a tiered system so that we don't shell shock them from 90 to 75? Maybe it's 90 to such and such, going down by 5%, whatever it is. But at this point, I really don't feel good about doing anything short of 90%.
Right. No, I think I know. I think I'm on the same boat as you. Things are tough, but again, we got to look at town and everything else. But not going down there, to me, it gives me stress. I'm not a retiree, and I also got to think about the employees that are now still employed by the town, right? Some of you up at this table down the road is, hey, what's my insurance going to look like when I retire? So that goes into the planning factor for current employees as well. So you got to think about that, right? And I know you have. I'm just putting it out there for those at home, not here. So I agree. I think we have to follow the law, 90%. I think we would be agreed in that, right? We have to follow the law. The law is the law. But maybe revisit it if the law changes, and we'll revisit it in a year's time frame, something along those lines.
So just so you know, this is for calendar year, so the retirees' rates change, and it goes into effect January 1. So what you vote tonight, we will get a letter out to the retirees so that they know in January it's gonna be a little bit different.
Right.
And same thing moving forward, say January, we could revisit this, so the following January, if you're gonna teeter down, they would have an entire year to do that. I will tell you, town council says, I think we're supposed to be the same as working employees, and retirees should be the same percentage. Prior, what happened is we didn't have any statute in place. We were supposed to be paying 0%. There was no statute was adopted. We adopted that statute at the town meeting, so now that it gives you the right to pay up to 90% of the retirees. So I think that's a good move for right now to get us at least that much into compliance, and then I think further discussion about whether you make the retirees to what the working employees are, because that's really what town council has advised me. But I think we can have more conversations of that. I think the closer we can get to compliance of where we should
Sure.
be, but I want to give them as much notice, because it is, I agree, it's very difficult right now, so.
Just for full transparency, Deb, can you tell the folks listening is what is the current rate for town employees paying right now as a working active employee?
75%.
Correct. So that's where that 75% number came from, is to kind of sit there and, we're going to do some more due diligence there and make sure that if that's the case, then that's the discussion that we have next. But right now, to meet the law, right, while we wait for that final answer from town council and everything else, 90% is, right? I think.
Well, I think town council's already.
Kind of already indicated
Kind of
that.
already set everything in place. I think for us, for me personally, is it's more about what's the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is go from 95 to 90 so that we're in compliance. Town council's saying,
Drop it down even
drop
further.
down to 75 because that's the way it's usually done. But I don't think they're not saying we have to be the same.
I
They're
do
just
think
saying.
that if you're gonna drop it lower than 90, you need to have a more informational meeting for the seniors, because there is things that I've heard about, there was bartering back and forth, that if they did this, they would get I don't know, I just don't wanna have you guys say, okay, we're just gonna drop it to this, and then all these seniors say, wait a minute,
Yeah.
we made a deal, I think that we need to bring forth more information. I think they're expecting the 90 because that's the law, and when that article went on, there was discussion. But I think if you're gonna do more, then I'd rather see you put this on hold and have a bigger discussion with the people that's going to affect the retirees.
I think and I think that's a very valid point, I think if we ever have to take another step, I'm not saying we will or we won't, but if we take a step away from that 90%, then it's something that's done with our retirees, with
Right.
us, right? And that they can ask questions and we can have some definitive numbers to them and what it will look like and how it will affect them.
And they
So,
can give you the history of how they got where they are at.
Mr. Chairman, if I may,
Absolutely.
since I am a retiree, I'll give you a little bit of the history. Originally, back probably 20 years ago, the town paid 80% of Blue Cross Blue Shield. And if you took Blue Cross Blue Shield, that would be the case. If you went with a, I'm gonna lose it now, doctor, a managed plan, you would get up to 90%, because that's what they could do. And that's how they went along. Now, if you retire before you are 65, then you stay on the town's health plan. Once you reach 65, you go to Medicare, and the town then will pay their there'll be a percentage you pay and they pay of the supplementary. So mostly we're talking about employees who are going to be reimbursed for their supplementary health care, not all health care. But if you're a retired person, you're 60 years old, the town will pay probably now most of them at 75%. So that's what, and I kind of, yes, I think it's only fair. If I don't know why you haven't actually given notice to the town retirees of what your decision might be tonight, so that they could have had some input here. But just so you know, what it was 80% if you did Blue Cross Blue Shield, 90%, up to 90% if you were in one of the managed cares. And I also want everyone to understand that Massachusetts retirees, unless they worked outside, do not get any Social Security. Okay, nothing at all. So I want you to keep that in mind. And and Social Security people are getting cost of living. The cost of living supplements for retirees are minuscule. They're like, I think maybe last year was 3% of the first, up to the first 30. And I have never, in my 13 years as a retiree, never been reimbursed or gotten a cost of living at the full 30%. And that 30%, I mean, pardon me, that $30,000 was set into law in like 1980. So that's 40 years ago. They've never brought it up.
Yeah.
So, you know, I think you should keep that in mind.
Absolutely, and I think that that's kind of why I said what I said about if, you know, if we have to move away from that 90% needle, we do need to get, you know, the people who are affected by this, not 2 or 3 people sitting up here making a decision that's going to affect a whole bunch of people. That's just not, that wouldn't be fair.
And to be perfectly honest, as I think fair, and of course I'm, you know, drawing this position here, is that 90% is fair. Because we're not getting costs of living that people on Social Security are getting, where, I mean, my increase in the pension didn't cover the increase in my health care. Just so you know. That's what reality
Goes
is.
down to, yeah. Yeah, see, and then there you go, that's the type of stuff you hear and you hate to hear. And that's what scares me and obviously Carlos as well. So, you know, so, all right, so I mean, I don't want to, and I truly appreciate it from your perspective, Charlie, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
So, with that, I am going to entertain a motion that we vote at 90% for the retirees' health insurance that we will pay for calendar year 2025.
Motion's made.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 5, discussion and vote whether to allow the Girl Scouts to sell craft items at the summer concert series.
They volunteer and they're coming, they both face painting.
Yeah.
And doing some things with the summer concert series. I think that the people enjoyed it, I think the residents enjoyed it, the kids enjoyed it. And they make some crafts and they were asking to sell them. I'm concerned because I don't want that to turn into a vendor fair, right? I don't want the concert series to then be other crafts, people saying, hey, the Girl Scouts are selling something, well, we want to sell something too. So that's why I wanted to bring it before the board. I just don't want it to turn into something it's not.
So I think that, and that's a very valid point, because that is a limited space, right? I don't want to turn it into that, because there was a good turnout at the last one, and we had a couple of we had the town nurse there.
Yep.
We had some food trucks, and we had the Girl Scouts there. So I think maybe if we're gonna do it again, and, you know, we start getting multiple groups, then maybe we have to put it in a rotation schedule, you know, where we have 1 or 2 there, and that's all, we cap it off at that. So that way we don't have 10 of them there, and then, you know, people who are there to actually watch the concert are all packed in like sardines. That's just not fair. So, yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with them doing it. I think, you know, someone who was standing on the side of them for pretty much the whole night, they seemed like the girls were having a good time and having fun, so I'm all for it.
My line of thoughts are in line with the things you're saying. I don't want it to be that the place you go to watch a concert, but then you already have some food trucks there, which is great, ice cream trucks and everything else, which is amazing. Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, they're great groups. I spend the majority of my life volunteering for nonprofits and love to give back as much as possible. But I also concerned about making sure that that's not all it is as well, right? So I do like your tiered approach to a rotation, no more than 2 or 3 vendors or nonprofits like Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts at any given time, so you don't get overwhelmed with different things, and definitely give them the opportunity to, I want a bracelet, whatever they're making. I love wearing that stuff. I usually wear them here on live on camera. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with them going there tomorrow as almost like not a test, but as a good trial run. To see how it's received and everything else, and then expand it as needed or cap it to the numbers we suggested.
Yeah, so I think that, we're not allow, by doing this vote, unless, tell me if I'm looking at this wrong, but we're not saying that, okay, they're gonna be the only ones that will allow. I mean, I can put a caveat in the vote. But, I think if no one else asked, I would hate to say, okay, you're gonna be on a rotation schedule and you're only gonna be at every other or whatever. So, until we have more ask, if more do ask, then that's why I guess I'm saying that, right? So I think,
And I will just caveat that with they're volunteering.
right,
Right, they're bringing a service to.
absolutely.
To the concert series that is, I think, appreciated.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like they're just setting out and selling something.
Yeah.
They're just
They're
gonna probably
adding to.
have them there while they're doing, I think they were face painting and whatnot.
Yeah, they were face painting, and then, actually the last one, I didn't know that this was gonna happen, shame on me, but, the town nurse being there, I thought that was good, right? She was there and she was giving off to people, that's something, you're in an outdoor event on the side of the water, so there's mosquitoes and stuff, and she's giving out information.
Right.
They were there, I think it all helps to the excitement of the event, right? So
Yep.
it's not just about the
It
concert,
was a
it's
great event.
everything.
It was-
Listen, my 6-year-old ran up to me and gave me tick and mosquito prevention packets with a great enthusiasm. So whatever they're doing at that tent, they were very excited to give it to me. He's like, "Look, Dad, look what I got." So the kids were excited. It was we had many people that showed up. It's a good opportunity for FaceTime the Girl Scouts for this venue. And correct if I'm wrong, I guess I didn't look at this. Isn't tomorrow the next one? So look at that. My son gets to go to a concert on his birthday. And if we vote on it, maybe get some Girl Scout stuff. So.
Yeah, all right, so I think, at this point, I think that we've kind of hashed this all out, so with that, I will entertain a motion to approve, to allow the Girl Scouts to sell craft items at the summer concert series.
Motion made.
I will second it, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item 6, discussion and vote, whether the town would pay for the street lights on Jeffrey Lane in Assonet, Mass. So this one's an interesting one, and I was looking at it, and what happened is the town was financially struggling, and they started trying to figure out how they could cut costs. And one of the things is they sent the police chief around to look at lights that we could remove from the electricity bill. And this street was one of them. Well, the residents that lived on the street got upset and said that there would be concerns as far as safety. So one of the residents, since then, has paid the electric bill every single month for this one light. The light bill, just so everyone's aware, is somewhere in the neighborhood of about $16 or $17. Can fluctuate a little bit with daylight savings time and everything. But I'm assuming I have the police chief here because he might have something to say about safety or anything else as it relates to this one light that's on the street.
Well, fortunately, this was before I stepped into the office.
Yeah.
So Dalton had the responsibility of those actions. But whenever it comes for lighting, I wish there was lights on every street, but that's not reality. So I'm assuming Chief Abbott used discretion in picking those lights. So, but at the end of the day, it's your decision as a board. I'd make that recommendation, to make that expense to help those people. There are some elderly people that live in that area, and it would definitely help increase the safety there.
Sure.
So I'm gonna say two things is, one, I am glad that I'm not sitting up here on this board when things were that trying, knock on wood, because that's tough when you have to get to that point to trying to look at dollars, and I'm sure you're at the same point, you're not having to go run around and make that decision, but I think you said it all when you said that, I wish we had lights on every street. So, the light does help, and I do think it's unfair to put that burden, whether it be the size of it not being that great, still to put that burden on one individual resident is not fair. So I am all for taking this responsibility back on as the town, because it really does serve value to the town, to the residents, not just this one resident.
Right.
So,
When I saw this email pop up and the information behind it, I read it 5 times. I'm not gonna lie. And then I started giggling to myself, and I remember my wife coming to me, "Why are you laughing, Carlos?" And I said to her, You know, I didn't tell her what it was. I kind of broke it down. It's like, you know, small towns come with small town stories. And this is a quintessential small town story that the town was struggling and its residents stepped up to pay a bill. And that's how I look at it. So thank you to the residents that did that. That's just a great story. And it's, when I think of small towns, these are the things that we do for each other, right? It's something that we all want to get back to as we grow and pull apart in many ways, right? So yeah, I think at this point, thank you for the many years of going and paying our electricity bill, and they've had enough. I get it.
Yeah.
So,
So I think she'll be happy with how this will go. So with that, I will entertain a motion that the town pay for the street light on Jeffrey Lane in Assonet, Mass.
Motion made.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So the actual reason why I know the chief is here is that the next agenda item, agenda item number 7, discussion and vote on whether to utilize ARPA monies to fund replacement of all mobile data terminals and patrol cars for the sum of $48,667.32. So this is really, and I don't want to speak to it because I really want to let you speak to it, but this is more about the computers that are within every patrol car, right, that they're using day in and day out.
Yes, so the town's in a unique situation where we could replace some old and antiquated mobile data terminals that are in our patrol cars. These mobile data terminals are used every single day in the function of our work, specifically for traffic control, a lot of checks on individuals that we're bumping into it on a regular basis, communication directly back and forth from the personnel in the car to the communication center. And leading up to the next couple of months, I've been spearheading e-citations to be implemented here in the department. And what that means is, instead of the officers writing out a citation physically on a citation, they'll be able to use the computer mechanism within in the cars. So they enter the data, it gets actually printed out by a mobile printer inside the cruiser, and then that will be issued to the violator. This is something that has been encouraged by the RMV because they don't want our messy handwritten citations anymore, and they want these e-citations. There's other benefits of having the system where it's all documented. It's directly right through the RMV. So there's an enhanced security level there as well. So all these things add up to this advancement in the technology that we're asking for would definitely benefit the police department. If this funding wasn't approved, I would have to come up with a more relaxed plan of replacing terminals, maybe 1 to 3 at a time per year, and keep rotating things out. But we're looking at mobile data terminals now that are range in age from 7 to 10 years old, and I think, I have my IT guy here today, the shelf life of these computers usually are like 5 years, so we've already extended past that. Some of the data terminals now, they actually need work done on them, and I really don't want to make that extra expense if I don't have to, if the town allows these ARPA monies to support replacing the whole fleet at this time. So again, I'm hoping that the support is there, and if there's more IT questions about these terminals, again, I have Sergeant Ashley here. But one of the benefits of these new terminals is currently most of our car fleet has its mobile data terminal, but we also have a modem that is separate from the terminal. So what that means is the data terminal is in the trunk of the car, and a line runs underneath, like the seats and the lining of the car up to where the mobile data terminal is, and then it connects to the computer. So, but what we're looking at is a system where the mobile air card is actually within the data terminal. So what does that mean? There's savings there, so we don't have to deal with running that extra line and that extra installation. And when that that modem goes down, The replacement is not there. We're specifically using the data terminal. So then there's also some other IT benefits that come along with that, where updates and transfer of data from the IT person that has to manage that. It's going to be so much easier because we have those internal modems within the terminals. So we're looking to the head. We're trying to move things to the future, and these funds would support that.
Absolutely, and, obviously, a couple of things as it relates to that. ARPA funding is here once, and it's, once only. This is, everything is, at the end, paid for by taxpayer dollars, right? The ARPA money came from taxpayers, so I don't want to make it sound like that, but we're not going to Freetown direct residents asking them for this sum of money. I think this is a good use of the money. I think the police department has been very good about not, trying to come after every little, seeing what we have and trying to come after it. And that, so, and then it doesn't put, I'm gonna use Sergeant Ashley because he's standing or sitting behind you, it doesn't put Sergeant Ashley in one car using some equipment and then into another car using a different equipment. I think, we do it all once, we do it right, and everyone, no matter what car they jump into, they have the same equipment. I don't see it as being, it's a no-brainer decision to me, at every level.
Yeah, these terminals are used day in and day out. You might as well consider them to be part of our tool belt, because we're constantly using them. Back in the old days, before we even had mobile data terminals, we'd have to call the dispatcher, and they would run the information there, and it was reported over the radio waves, and everybody would hear it on the radio. But nowadays, with the technology, we have that ability to do these inquiries at our fingertips. And a lot of work gets done that way. A lot of good investigative work gets done that way. So we invest in those mobile data terminals faithfully.
Chief? Oh, go ahead, Deb.
We had talked about, once you get these, that now you begin the rotation and put that in place so that we don't get to another point where everything's sort of outdated. I think that happened when, budgets are tight. They do what they have to and they don't replace things because they can't, the budgets weren't there. But now that you just get a clean slate, start over and, put a plan in place to rotate these, whatever, a couple in 3 years, 4 years, 5, so that they just consistently will stay up to date as long as the budgets are there, because we never know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We use the same consistent plan with some of the other equipment that we have in the station, whether it's vests, our firearms. I recently replaced the old shotguns that were malfunctioning with brand-new shotguns, so we got that done. But the more usage that we have with this equipment, there is a shelf life. It comes to an end, and they have to be replaced. Well, I don't want to replace pistols, rifles, shotguns, tasers all at once, because it would be such a burden to the town and the community. So you're absolutely right. Having a plan in place definitely lessens the blow and making sure things are maintained properly.
Or we can go back to having residents pay streetlights. That's kind of how it all worked out before. But since you mentioned your IT guy, Sergeant Ashley, as you're aware, and Chief as well, it doesn't matter who answers it, we're upgrading our communication systems, right? Approved by the town at town meeting. So interface-wise, no issues there? Will it improve what we're planning on doing, or do you see any issues or concerns moving forward?
Nope, we expect the new radio system to go online at the end of the month. The last check that I had from the communications, Bearcom and Comtronics, I don't see any issue with these new tablets interfering with the new radio system whatsoever.
Perfect.
I'd like to add, too, as well as about a year and a half ago, the state 911 notified all the law enforcement entities that we would no longer, at a given later date, to be able to record our telephone and radio transmissions on their server. So they put us on notice to say, if you want to have those recordings, you're going to have to do something on your own. So we were proactive. We were able to acquire our own server. That we have that temporarily installed. We're just waiting for the radio infrastructure upgrades to be in place, and then shortly after that, we will be making the connection to our new server to keep on going with those recordings and getting off the 911 server as pushed by the state. So we're staying proactive, and we're making those changes as, required by the state.
Thank you.
And using ARPA money is, again, like you said, it's not ARPA money. Yes, it's our tax dollars, but it was through the American Rescue Plan Act, right? So that's soon to expire. So those funds will, unless we have another global pandemic and decide to do the same exact thing, ARPA monies or other type of monies might not come down our way again. So it is smart use of it. That's certainly true.
Absolutely. So thank you, gentlemen, both for that input. I appreciate it. So with that, I entertain a motion to approve utilizing ARPA money to fund replacement of all mobile data terminals in patrol cars to the sum of $48,667.32.
Motion made.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 8, discussion and vote whether to approve and sign the quote from Advanced Electronic Design, Inc. for mobile data terminals in patrol cars. So we already have it, and everything seems to be in place. So I mean, it's
Yeah, no, standards.
Piggyback off of the decision that was just made.
Now, is there any, one last question for you, gentlemen, leave, for the contract portion of it, right? We're all in agreement, it's a great idea. How long will it take for the stuff to get installed or ordered, delivered, once money's received, of course?
So I believe what you have before you is a quote from Patrol PC or Advanced Electronic Design for 9 Series 3 Renault Tab tablets. My understanding is that they are coming off the production line they were supposed to be off the production line this month. I don't expect the delivery to be much after that once it's paid. This does include some changes to the configurations in the cars. As the chief mentioned, we currently have end-of-life modems buried in the trunks of some of these cruisers. On a hot summer day, I was just in the back of one trying to rectify the issue because we don't have any more spare modems. So this reconfiguring the antenna on the roof to route it to the front of the car where the computer goes into the dock, and just plopping this in and getting it going is not going to take very long, but we can do it in a systematic function to get everything up and running.
Perfect.
And the quote that you see today involves installation as well. So the company comes out and they do one car at a time. I'm not sure if they'll be able to get it all done in one day. Maybe they'll do a certain number of cars, but they have been very reliable to us because we've been using them for years. Good company.
Good. I know that makes you feel good, right? Especially if you've been using them in the past. So.
Oh, I agree.
Yeah, that's a good question. So with that, I entertain a motion to approve and sign the quote for Advanced Electrical Design, Inc. for the mobile data terminals in patrol cars.
Motion made.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right, so agenda item number 9, discussion and vote on whether to approve the following transfer requests. So I'm going to read through them all. If you have any questions or whatever, or have any holds on them, just let me know, and then we can go back to them. So A, the tree warden rentals and lease to tree warden part-time salary, elected in the sum of $5,000. B, town insurance, automobile to town insurance general liability in the sum of $7,000. C, building office supplies to electrical personnel in the amount of $4,150. D, town prop custodial part-time to public building and prop maintenance overtime in the sum of $748.48. E, police officer salary / wages to police overtime in the sum of $48,144.41. F, unemployment benefits to Medicare in the sum of $6,000. G, Transfer station, other supplies to transfer station waste removal and disposal in the sum of $683.91. H, town prop custodial part-time salary to town prop R&M service, building and grinds, I'm assuming that's? Grounds, yeah, that makes more sense, wow. Police in the sum of $8,000. And that's all of them. So, obviously, we're at that time of year where there's gotta be some adjustments made.
Yeah.
You know, so, I mean, it all seems pretty straightforward to me, so you don't.
Right, altogether it's around $80,000, and you're just literally, essentially, it's been approved, it's just moving from one pot of money to the other, like you said, for the adjustments for the year. So for those watching at home, this is what this is for.
Yeah.
So,
All right, so, I mean, everything's good with me, so, you good, Debbie,
Okay,
everything?
good, yeah, these are all just sort of
Yeah.
interdepartmental
Exactly, yeah. Exactly.
transfers, and I looked at them all, they're all valid, and
Mhm.
The Finance Committee voted for all of them this evening before this meeting, so.
Oh, awesome, perfect. Thank you, Lauren, I appreciate that. All right, so, with that, I entertain a motion to approve the, following transfer request as read, A through H.
motion made?
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 10, discussion and vote on whether to approve utilizing Hathaway Park for free yoga classes on 8/8/24, 8/16/24, 8/30/24, 9/6/24, 9/13/24, and 9/20/24 from 5 to 7. I think this is a great use. It's, you know, it's another good program to have there, right? You know, we've talked about that area and.
Right. I think this was back in the beach last year, wasn't that? Or a similar program, the
we had
beach?
somebody at the
Yeah.
beach
Yeah.
last year. This is, of course, through our community program director. I think last year was a woman who had come to us and asked to use the beach, and you approved that.
Yeah.
So I don't know who she has, I haven't gotten the details. The only thing I will tell you is she's got it set up, oh, this is August, I was gonna say, I don't know if it coincides the same with the concert series, but I was thinking it was July 16th, and this is August 16th. But yoga is one of those great things, and what a better place than to have it outdoors at the park.
Mm-hmm.
Right,
Yeah.
pickleball, some pickleball court, a lot of grass, rivers right there, nice little sunset. I might go do some yoga. I don't know. Kayak, that's right, kayak, storage ramp there, oh.
Yeah, in the playground, so you're good.
playground,
All,
yeah.
all sorts of stuff, one-stop shopping. So no, I mean, it's a little bit more excitement, adding a little bit more activities. Great job, Kylie, because it's another thing that she can tip her hat on, so. So with that, I will entertain a motion to approve utilizing Hathaway Park for free yoga classes, with the dates as listed, from before.
Motion made?
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Agenda item number 11, discussion and vote on whether to approve and sign the 2024 dog warrant presented by the town clerk and attachment B dated 7/15/24, authorizing the animal control officer to proceed. So, there's a quite extensive list of people who have not come to register, their pets. So, you know, you get the bills and stuff, please pay attention, because it ends up costing you more and more money as time goes on, and, you know, that's not the name of this. They really want, you know, people to come in and pay for them, so.
Yep. And
but-
as full disclosure, Mr. Chairman, I'm on that list. I completely spaced out or didn't see it, so I will disclose that. But I'll be paying my fees and fines as like we all do, and it's the right thing to do, so.
I'm sorry to say that I did not look for your name, but
I
I
know.
did double check
I
mine,
know.
because I do have 3 pets, and I wanted to make sure that I had them all paid,
Yeah,
and thankfully I
and
did, so.
I was amazed that I was on there, but I am, and that's, that, it is what it is. I will take care of it immediately, so.
And just for reference, the animal control officer, if anybody needs her, should be at her office at the transfer station.
Correct.
Tuesdays and Thursdays, in the, like 8 to 2. So if you need to try to get a hold of her, that's the place to get a hold of her.
Well, that's a good point.
I'll be there to be paying my fine.
You have to pay the fine to the clerk, but if
Right.
you have questions or you need something else, you can find Lisa Podolsky there.
Thank you.
Just call ahead of time, because she
Yeah.
does go out on calls, but.
Just gonna say that, make sure that you call ahead, because, yeah, she can be all over the place. It
But
takes
she's
one
been there
call.
quite frequently, so.
Good. All right, so, with that, I entertain a motion to approve and sign the 2024 dog warrant presented by the town clerk in attachment B dated 7/15/24, authorizing the animal control officer to proceed.
Motion made.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Over to you, Carlos.
All right, thank you, sir. All right, Personnel Board, item agenda 12, acknowledge the resignation of Alexander Indek as call firefighter effective 7/10/2024. We accept it. Thank you, Alexander. Best of luck for your future endeavors. Item agenda 13, discussion and vote whether to approve the appointments listed in attachment A, presented by the town clerk for election workers, effective 8/16/2024 through 8/15/2025. As the previous list, like you stated, there's quite a few names on there, but they've all been executed and approved by the town clerk, and everyone's excited to keep doing their job. So, if no objections, I'd like to entertain the motion to approve the appointments listed in attachment A, presented by the town clerk for election workers, effective 8/16/2024 through 8/15/2025.
Motion made.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Moving along, item agenda 14, discussion and vote whether to approve the following appointments. As you did before, I will go through A to C and make the motion at the end. So, again, discussion and vote whether to approve the following appointments. A, Lauren Goyette, Parking Control Officer 1, effective 6/13/2024 through 9/9/2024. B, Kevin Desmarais to Sewer Line Extension Committee, Board of Health Representative, effective 7/16/2024 through 6/30/2025. And C, Charles B. Sullivan as Public Records Clerk, Conservation Commission, effective 7/8/2024 through 6/30/2025. Now, before I make the motion, B, for Kevin as the Sewer Line Extension Board of Health Representative, that vote, I believe, was already taken at another meeting, and I know I'm appointed to that position. So, are there two positions, or is it just one?
I believe there's just one as far as the committee makeup, but we don't have any record, Carlos, of you being appointed to that committee.
I've been going to a lot of meetings then. I was appointed, and I think that might be the disconnect, and I think we need to kick this to the Board of Health.
I've been at every sewer, this is for the sewer line. I've been at every meeting.
Yeah, I've been on Zoom.
Okay, I don't know. I think you'll have to work that out. Like I said, I don't think we had record. Do we have
No, I
record?
searched all the agendas and couldn't find anything
Okay.
either.
All right, so.
You wanna hold
can
it?
we-
I
can
think
we-
I'm gonna hold B.
Can we put a hold on B?
Yeah.
And then we can, but I don't want to hold up everything, so why
Correct.
don't we vote on A and C?
That was my preposition. Until we figure it out with the Board of Health, we can move to that next time. So, item agenda 14, I entertain a motion to approve the following appointments listed as A and C on this agenda item. Lauren Goyette as Park Control Officer 1, effective 6/13/2024 through 9/9/2024. And C, Charles B. Sullivan as Public Record Clerk for the Conservation Commission, effective 7/8/2024 through 6/30/2025.
Motion made?
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, so I think that's it, unless you don't have anything, Debbie, to go over.
No, the only thing I will say is I did sign the contract for the addition for the fire station today.
Fantastic.
With the permission from the board, so it is moving forward. And I also signed the quote for the COA pod, so that is under construction, so everything else with that project, which has been a little difficult, has to fall into place, because it's coming.
Nice.
So, and you know, the bathrooms are under construction, we're looking forward to those being done, because the porta-johns in this weather are perfect. All the employees are enjoying
There
that.
was no sarcasm.
Has the time frame moved back or forward?
They should be on track, there's a penalty in their contract if they're not
Fantastic.
completed by a certain date, but they're getting up against it very quickly.
Porta potties in the sun. Ugh.
So it is, so big things are happening, things are happening. Luann worked super diligently to get all of the procurement RFPs out for the school projects that were voted on at town meeting. I have to give her a ton of credit. She did the work. I couldn't get to them, and they needed to go out, because time is of the essence, because it's summertime, and so Luann rose to the occasion, as she often does. I know she doesn't want to hear this stuff, but she worked super, super hard, extra time, and got those out, and did an excellent job, so
Thank
I
you,
have
Luann.
to, yeah, I think we have to give her a lot of credit, because I don't know, there's only so much I can do, and she was able to get them done, so.
Gosh, it sounds like we need, that's a nice procurement officer right there.
She just finished all of her classes. Yeah.
We do appreciate you, Luann, thank you.
Well, it's great to know that I can rely on her to do it, and you, as a board, can rely on her if I can't get it done. And so that's huge, right? Because it's not easy. Procurement is really difficult in the small towns, and everything we touch has to be procured. So, it's super important. We take it super seriously, at least I do in the town hall. And I can't tell you how comforting it is to know that Luann can do it as well as myself, so. Just
I
wanna say
said it to you
kudos.
guys multiple times, I'm not gonna try and take this into a kumbaya session, but the three of you make us look a lot better, so thank you, thank you.
We certainly could not do it without you all three.
So,
So-
so yeah, no, so it's, it really does, it makes all the difference in the world, so I know, you don't hear it enough, so thank you, thank all three of you. So, we need to, sign before we adjourn. We're making you take some long steps around, see?
It's okay, I can use the extra steps.
Mhm.
Going to the Porta John, that's what you do, you get it. Plus, I look at it as a sauna, you know? But those are fun, they're not reserved ones, but the transfer requests.
I'm sure like many of us that are here and listening, we've all hit a porta-john in the middle of summer, and it's less than pleasant, to say the least.
Yes, the company's coming a couple times a week to clean them, so that's not fun.
Yeah, that does make a difference.
And Fire Station One was gracious enough to give us a key, so the people that don't wanna use the Porta John, they can go over there and use the real toilet. That's always lovely.
Yeah, we're trying to give as many options as we can.
Memo and you're at 90% for the priorities insurance. So, do street lights, hangings, for roads, is that what you said?
Every time I hear this,
Yes.
We'll figure out how to put that back in the town's name to be billed.
Okay, question on the opera funds, is it Bristol County or federal?
Federal,
Okay, I'll add that.
Bristol County is only good for water, sewer, broadband.
Not for the electric, but for the PC patrol.
PG is federal.
This one just me, patrol car.
Yep. This is the dog warrant.
Jim and I are gonna get picked up and brought to prison.
It couldn't sign without letting it,
I thought it was good for you that you called it out, because I was laughing. Like I said, I literally opened it up and went straight to the bottom and verified that I wasn't on.
We all did the same thing. We all
I was like,
checked to make
there
sure
I
our name
am.
wasn't on the list.
I looked at my wife, she's like, don't you look at me. It's like, I know.
Warren, this one more horizontal.
I called the vet right away. I was like, hey, did I get my license? He goes, yeah, you picked it up. I was like, I was like, can I get another one? I picked it up today, so tomorrow I'll be doing some driving back and forth.
Very good. All right, so we good,
Yep.
Luann? All right, so with that, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion made.
I will second it. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.